Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Gianna Lian, and today I'm giving you guys a bunch of book recommendations, but in a different way. Over on my Goodreads, I basically gave you guys the prompt, show me a book that ... and you guys had to fill in the blanks, and you guys gave me so many good ones. So I'm gonna be using those prompts to give you guys book recommendations, and I've gathered over 20 book recommendations for you guys, and these ones are either really, really good and I recommend them, or they're really, really bad and I recommend you stay away from them. We got lots of books going on here, but it's gonna be a fun time, so hopefully you guys gain some book recommendations from this, and we're gonna get right into it. First one says, show a book that got you hooked from page 1. And I chose Go Ask Alice by Anonymous because this book was insane. I know I say that a lot about a lot of the books that I read, but this one was just so different. It's very, very short, so obviously, you know, it gets straight to the point throughout the whole book. I tabbed a lot of it and highlighted a bunch of it. It was just a story for me to always remember. It was so impactful because it's a different layout of a book and it's more just diary entries instead of following a storyline. It was just so crazy that it had me hooked, and I wanted to figure out what ended up happening to Alice, really just knowing her whole entire story. So I really, really recommend this one, but I would recommend checking trigger warnings if you do end up picking up this book. Show me a Boy Next Door book. For this one, I chose none other than Better Than the Movies by Lian Painter. Lian Painter is one of my favorite authors. We all know that by now, but this is my favorite Lian Painter book that I did pick up so far. I've read The Do-Over, and I have Mr. Wrong Number. I just haven't read it yet. This one is a boy next door, enemies to lovers thing going on. They've been neighbors since they were little. They've always been at war since they were little. It gives all those cute, cheesy rom-com vibes, and it's just a really fun book. You're gonna have a fun time reading it. I found the characters so funny and so lovable that it just pulled the whole book together. Show me a book that doesn't leave your mind. Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This book, I'm still obsessed with it. I finished this 2 months ago now, and I'm still obsessed with this book. It never leaves my mind. Even just the smallest scenes from the book, it's always with me, and I can never forget Alex Volkov. Like, how can anyone forget Alex Volkov? He is one of my favorite book boyfriends, definitely in the top 3. Absolutely obsessed with him. He can marry me. I just fell in love with the plot of this book. Going into it, I didn't think I was gonna really enjoy it. Thought maybe it was just gonna be a regular basic romance, but I was completely wrong because this book is insane. It is crazy. It is everything that I wanted it to be and more. So I definitely recommend this whole series. I recently just finished Twisted Games as well. Absolutely loved that book. Can't wait to pick up the 3rd. Her writing just leaves a dent in you, and it's so worth reading. I have a few that I could have put on this list. Okay, freeze. I don't know why I didn't read you guys the prompt for this, but it was show a book that you hate. But My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga definitely can take this prompt because this was such a letdown for me. Ever since I grabbed this book from the bookstore, it was a big anticipated read for me, and it just fell extremely flat. I've explained this a few times on my channel of how much I hate this book, so I won't go too into detail, but it didn't go in enough detail for me. Just kind of boring in a way, which sucked because the things talked about in this book are not boring at all. They're actually very dark and heavy, so I feel like the author just kind of hit the surface of everything and she didn't go in depth at all. Definitely don't recommend this one, but if you do want to pick it up, I don't recommend it, but if you do, check trigger warnings because this one is also dark and it deals with a lot of dark topics of mental health. Show me a book that made you cry the most. This is funny for me to say because there's only one book that has ever made me cry, and that has to be If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. Obviously, with the hype around this book and what people say about this book is a lot of people are heartbroken, a lot of people just literally sob over this book, and I can tell you that is true because this book was the first one to actually make me cry, and for that, I give it a big award because I haven't cried from any other books. It was just so upsetting because the author purposely made the beginning slow and made sure nothing happened throughout the whole entire book until the last like 30-50 pages where she just dropped bomb after bomb after bomb, and it just hit you so hard, and I wasn't expecting it because I fell in love with the characters throughout the whole story, and then for them to just get ripped away from me, like, it was just devastating. So this is the one that has definitely made me cry the most, and I think the ending deserves all the hype it gets, but the build up is a little bit boring. Show me a book that took you months to read. I honestly don't even know why it took me so long to read this book, but The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I read this a little while ago. I don't know why it took me so long. I really enjoyed this, but I think it's because I didn't read it all in one sitting. I was reading a few books alongside this book, and I feel like if I read just this book by itself, I feel like I could have enjoyed it more and processed it a little bit more and dug a little bit deeper into the story. The messages that the author was trying to give to us throughout the book were shown so well. There's a lot of life lessons in this book that you don't really realize until you start reading it and actually process what the author is trying to tell you, and it's just a beautiful story. I learned so many things about life, about myself in this book. It was just a lot better than I was expecting before I went into it. I think I just kind of ruined it for myself by not reading it in one sitting, if that makes sense. Show me a book that has an amazing cover but the actual book was bad. Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. This cover is gorgeous, isn't it? It's so vibey, it has pink, it has the fall spooky vibes going on, but the book is just a no. A complete no. This book was such a letdown. It was actually hilarious. There was nothing that went on in the plot. The characters were so boring. They had no personality to them. It was kind of really annoying, but I definitely hated this book. The cover is the only reason why I even gave this book a rating, to be honest. Don't recommend this one, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. A book that you read in less than a few hours. Now, I'm a pretty slow reader, so this book took me a day, but it's the fastest book I've ever read, basically. The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, which is the first book in the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy series. I love this series, but this one was my favorite, and I flew through this book. I think I honestly read this one so fast because it was giving me all those nostalgic feelings of being a kid in the summertime, and all the summer aesthetics, the characters, the writing. It just made me feeling so happy, and I just flew through it because of how much I was enjoying it. It's just a feel-good read. If you want a very fast-paced, cute summer read, I definitely do recommend this whole series. Show me a small town romance. I actually have not read too many books in this trope that I can really think of, but the one that stood out to me was There's Something About Mary by Cody Hall. And yes, I know, this is a Christmas book. I know, guys, but it's such a good Christmas book. I never thought that I would sit down and read a over 400-page Christmas book, but I'm here to tell you that I have. Because I rated this 5 stars. It was literally perfect. It not only was the best Christmas book because of the Christmas aesthetics in it, but because it was revolved around a small town with a loving, close family. They lived on a farm. It was like a family-owned farm. It was perfect. So this is one small town romance that I can say is literally perfection, but just add in the spice of the holidays and Christmas, and it's the perfect concoction ever. Not only that, but there also is a single dad trope, and the characters are just so lovely in this book, so you gotta read this one. Show me a book you're terrified to read. Okay, I'm not necessarily terrified to read this one, but The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stag Larsson. I'm not really terrified to read any of the books that I own, but if I had to choose one, it would definitely be this one. I don't really know what's so intimidating about it. Maybe the length, maybe just the genres in it. I think it's just definitely out of my comfort zone, so I'm kind of more hesitant to pick this one up because I'm worried I'm not gonna like it as much as everyone else has, because this is such a classic known book that everyone seems to enjoy. Along with that, I just don't really know what this book is about, so I think that's also another reason. I am excited to read this eventually, I just don't know when I'm gonna pick it up. Show me a book that has one of your book boyfriends. Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. You guys know, at least one book recommendations video, I need to include one of the addicted books in it. It's inevitable, so yeah. Lauren Hale from Lily and Lowe. Absolute perfection. Obviously, Alex Volkov has my heart, but so does Lauren Hale. He is definitely one of my favorite book boyfriends of all time. Just the dynamic that Lily and Lowe have with each other, and Lauren Hale's character in general, he is just the perfect boyfriend. He is so sweet and caring and compassionate, and I just love him. Even though he is addicted to alcohol, he is an alcoholic, he still just has my heart, so. Show me a book that has a main character you relate to the most. Now, I don't actually have this book, my friend still has it, but Tell Me Lies by Carola Levering. This is a toxic romance, but I think I relate sort of in a way, kind of, to Lucy, which is one of the main characters in this book. I just loved her character, just her personality and some of the things that she was going through in her life. It just kind of was relatable to me, and I felt like I could just really connect to her. Even if our personalities and situations didn't relate in a way, I just was so drawn to to her as a character, and I don't know, I just really loved her, and she definitely is probably one of my favorite characters that I've ever read. That is a character that I would say that I can relate to most, but I definitely recommend this book. It's still one of my favorite ones of all time. Show me your comfort book. Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. I still love this book, guys. I've reread it twice now, and it's just so good. It's more of a character-driven book and coming of age, found family, so it has all those aspects that just were so comforting to me. I don't know why. Not only that, but it's more of a relaxed book. I feel like the author was just trying to make you really get to know the characters, love the characters, and have a fun time in the setting that the book took place, because it is based in the 1970s. So it's back in some old times, and it's just such a feel-good book. So if I'm ever feeling down or stressed, this is definitely the book that I would pick up because it still has my heart. Show me a book that you don't see the hype for. Okay. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I did a whole reading vlog on this, and I don't see the hype, guys. I really didn't enjoy this. The author's writing style was just not for me, and just everything that went on in the plot, it just didn't interest me enough, which is kind of crazy because the movie gets so intense, so I wonder if the book's kind of like that too, because I DNF'd this, and I don't plan on picking this up anytime soon. I don't see the hype around this, considering it is like a very loved book in the way that it's been around for so long, and it's more of like a classic almost. Show me a book that will make people come up to me and ask me what it's about. This was actually one of my favorite prompts that I got because it was just so different and unique, and I knew exactly what book I was gonna choose for it. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, which is still my all-time favorite book that I've ever read in my entire life. Yes, still. I'm standing by my opinion. I definitely think if I haven't read this book and I saw someone reading this, I would be like, what is she reading? Because I'm Glad My Mom Died, like the title alone just makes people think like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting, you know? This is definitely the book I would recommend. It's a memoir of famous actress Jeanette McCurdy and her life story, and it was just so moving, so heartbreaking, but in a good way. It just was everything to me, and it still is. And alongside this book, it also goes with another prompt I have. Show me a book that you would save in a fire. This one. It's always gonna go with me. Show me a book that made you forget you were reading. Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This one was just so different, and in a good way, but in a bad way, because I think this is probably the most fucked up book I've ever read. It's just insane because I don't even know how Penelope came up with everything that goes inside this book. I think her mind is just insane. There's so much going on in her mind, and she showed that throughout this book. But this is the first book in the Devil's Night series, and each book focuses on a different horseman. So this one focuses on Erica and Michael. It's just really messed up because I felt like everything was just so chaotic and not real. I feel like it kind of made me forget I was reading in a way because I was just so sucked into this world that Penelope built that it just was insane. Like, even me thinking about it now, I am blown away by her writing, by her plot, by literally everything. So if you want a book to make you forget that you're reading, this is the one. But check trigger warnings. I'm warning you now, check trigger warnings. Show a book that had you thinking about it for weeks after reading it. Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I honestly rated this, I'm pretty sure like a 4.75 at the time, but this automatically gets a 5 stars. I think about this all the time, and it still sticks with me because of how heartbreaking the story is. It does deal with more of a domestic abuse situation going on, so this book is very heavy, and it definitely goes into extreme detail of the things that happened to the wife and happened in the situation in general. So check trigger warnings on this one. It was a lot darker than I thought it was going to be before I went into it. I'm just giving you guys that warning now that I wish I got. Besides all that, it still was just such a moving story because it really showed the importance of never giving up. And that is the biggest message that I got from this book. And this one I still think about to this day. And I definitely want to do a reread of this coming soon, maybe fall time. Show a book that everyone hates but you love. Now, I don't know if I've really seen any slander on this book recently, but I did a little while ago, but it's My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and I read this one a long time ago as well. I remember seeing some comments of just people not really enjoying this because of how heavy it was and how a lot of people just said like something like this shouldn't be made out of a story, but I think it's kind of just spreading awareness and showing the reality of that these things happen, and it's showing showing you the reality of what can come from it, what happens during it. And I think it was just a very, very powerful story showing everything that gets put on the line if you get involved with a situation like this. But this one was very different, something I never really read. It was more of an age gap romance in a way. I don't even know if I can say that's the trope for it. Vanessa, she's a 15-year-old student and she falls in love with her, how old is he? 42-year-old English teacher. Yeah, so I think that's enough information I'm gonna give you. Other than that, go into this book blind. I did, and I personally loved that, so that's what I recommend. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this, and I hope people don't hate it as much as I think that they do. And the last prompt that I'm going to read is show a book that you recommend to everyone. Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I'm obsessed with Carly Fortune. Her new book actually just released or is releasing very, very soon, and I'm so excited to pick it up. I need to ASAP because this is my favorite summer read of all time. If I had to choose one summer read to read every single summer, it would be this one because it just had the best vibe, perfect summer aesthetic. It's also childhood friends to lovers, which is one of my favorite tropes of all time. And I just had such an amazing time reading this. I think I recommend this to everyone because if they want more of a fast-paced book, still romance but not too cheesy, this is just the perfect combination of it all. It's not too short at all, has very, very short chapters, so it would be a really easy book for someone to just pick up. Even if they are new to reading, they haven't read in a while, it would just be a very, very good option to basically anyone. But those are the prompts that I chose to give you guys some recommendations for. I really hope you guys enjoyed this different style of showing you guys some book recommendations and kind of getting you guys involved in it as well. But I mention this all the time, but if you aren't following my Goodreads, make sure you guys are following that because I do a lot of these interactive videos over there. But recently I did start a Patreon and I do have my own book club now throughout that Patreon. So a lot of my book content is going to be over there alongside YouTube, and a lot of more interaction things and polls, book club choices, and just everything in general for your guys' opinion is going to be over there. So check out my description because my Patreon is always linked down there and I would love for you to join the Patreon family. Other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff you guys know how to do. And let me know if you guys have read any of these books and kind of your thoughts on them, and give me some book recommendations as well. Other than that, I really hope you guys are having an amazing, wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Okay, why is the lighting like that? The wrong and I have had a bunch of rivalry. Why is that word so hard to pronounce? Don't fall on me. Thank you. Oh my god, I need to hurry up. Oh my god, I just had like the biggest brain fart. The more Hello?